it's being professional is the biggest thing, like hitting the deadlines, basically making everybody happy. That's the one thing, like, I guess I could go back to, being a kid and, my parents, like, making me focus on, do your homework first before you go out and play, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And all that's kind of rolled into it is like, like I sit here and I was actually right before we started doing this was like making my list of all the stuff I need to tackle today to like keep up with deadlines and all that. It's, I want to make sure that anything I've signed on to do, I do it well, and I do it that I meet the deadline, and hopefully in the end make whoever that client is, or whoever is going to pick up that book or pick up that piece of art, whatever it is. So hopefully they're happy in some way, shape, or form.
Hey guys, welcome to Inside Comics with George Michail. Really quick, if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe and tell a friend about it. Today, I'm super psyched. I'm joined by Sean Forney. Sean, thank you for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you're a comic book artist, you're a comic book colorist, and you're the creator of Scarlet Huntress, which is an awesome book, and you have a new Kickstarter for that coming out in a few weeks. Yep. I'm super excited for the next installment. But today I'd like to talk to you about kind of just breaking into comics. A lot of people wear a lot of different hats in the comic book industry, and you're one of those people as well. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about working in the comic book industry and the different hats that you wear.
Okay. So I started out like I think as a lot of folks dreams, like I want to draw comic books, and that was like what I pursued, like jumping into this thing, dove in head first. Basically, as I was finishing up college, decided I'm gonna start sending out samples left and right, hit all these conventions, get my portfolio out, blah blah blah, all the craziness that back in those days was the thing to like get you noticed, get in. It was we didn't have social media yet. Internet was, basically the only way to get seen on the internet was like message boards, things like that. I got lucky with going to a couple conventions and some folks I knew around the area I lived in, where I was able to pick up like a couple of small like short story things where I drew those. And like I was actually talking about yesterday with some friends and my wife, was the first thing that I really did that a publisher actually hired me to work on that was anything substantial, was drawing a Jack London story as a comic book. He just gave me a short story and was like, here, draw this. And it was the first thing I did. It was published, all this. And I took that as like, ooh, hey, I worked on something, went to my next convention, and I started posting stuff on different message boards that were around back in the time. And I picked up doing some artwork for a small press publisher out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and they were doing an anthology. And first, to start off, I was doing some illustrations for trading cards. Basically, I think I just did the pencil, sent them off. They had somebody ink them, somebody color them, something like that. And the publisher absolutely loved them and was like, hey, we want to have you do something for our anthology. Can you come up with a short story? My immediate thought was like, sure. And, back in my head, I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to come up with a short story. So I was living in Toledo, Ohio area. My, at the time, fiance was living in Columbus, Ohio area. So I called her up and I said, hey, I got this offer to do a short story in this anthology. It needs to be like 5 pages. I don't remember exactly what spurred the idea, but something hit me. I think it was just like seeing some of the books coming out at the time. I was a big fan of stuff like Witchblade and Fathom and, a lot of that kind of stuff. And so I was like, okay, let's do some sort of female character. Something sparked and we said, let's do something based on Little Red Riding Hood. And so like, as I was like jumping in and diving into trying to get work in the industry, we also came up with doing Scarlet Huntress, like right all at the same time. So basically everything's like started transpiring around 2003, 2004. And it, through talking to some fellow artists and stuff, it was like they were suggesting, well, if you want to get work, you should set up an artist alley. That way, editors, publishers, so on can notice you. And it's like, well, we did that, and it's like we need something to set on the table. So this, kind of killed two birds with one stone. Get you some artwork for a publisher, and we have something to set on the table. We've got something that we worked on. It's a book, and that kind of snowballed later on. And like 2 years down the road, we did our own first issue of Scarlet Huntress, as well as I picked up other projects, things like that. Um, and all that basically led to, okay, I took that opportunity, tried to build on it and get another job, another gig here or there. And I started doing a bunch of different stuff for small press publishers as primarily a penciler to start out. But at the time, it was like very small projects and little to no pay. So it was like trying to pick up other things. And that was, like I said, that was from like 2004 to about 2007. We were doing a lot of that stuff. 2008, I got hooked up with a local illustration group, and I started working as a colorist on Bakugan trading cards, and the package art and all this kind of stuff. So that kind of like started me off like professionally doing some coloring work. And I also connected with a good friend of mine who was looking to like make prints to take to conventions. And I was like, well, give me some of your stuff. I'll color it, we'll split selling the prints, that kind of thing. And that basically gave me enough of a portfolio to start going to conventions then. And like, because everybody kept commenting on, oh, your colors are great. This looks great, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I just kind of fell into this, whatever. And so I took that and just kind of ran with it. And I started getting a bunch of gigs as a colorist on a bunch of different oddball stuff, in oddball stuff in comics. But then I did Bakugan. I did some Spider-Man license stuff for Marvel, a bunch of other just random things that I got through this illustration company.
Yeah.
Fast forward a few years, I handed off my portfolio at San Diego Comic-Con a few times. Got different projects, like I did some stuff for Lego, Scholastic, a bunch of different things. But I also connected with George Michail, and he hired me on to color various things. At the time, it was basically the same thing. He wanted prints for conventions, and then it turned into every once in a while an indie cover or something like this. And then he developed the Do You Poo thing, and it just skyrocketed from there. And there's a handful of individuals like doing all this stuff, and I know I've kind of gone off the rails with the whole thing of like breaking in the industry here, but this is all what played a role in me getting work as both penciler, colorist, and then the self-published creator thing all kind of rolled into one. But my buddy Josh Metters was like the first guy that I got to really color some stuff, and we got some published work out of it. And he introduced me to Tim Seeley. Tim actually had me color a couple of his projects. And then Morant, like I said, we started doing the Do You Poo stuff. I was working on his Naughty and Nice. And then he offered me up first to start it out. I just colored a couple of covers for Naughty and Nice. And he's like, hey, somebody bailed on me. Do you want to draw a story? Well, yeah, I'd love to get back into actually drawing some more stuff. Cool. Here you go. Then it was like, hey, you want to do some pinups for this? Then it was, hey, you want to start doing covers for this? And all that kind of stuff snowballed. So, I mean, those, like I said, those three gentlemen I mentioned were like huge facets of me, like breaking in, connecting with different parts of the industry. And through all those connections, they just kind of, like kind of spiderwebbed out. It's like, I know this person, but that person knows these, dozen people. And so that got me into doing all these different things. So, I can all kind of trace it back to those guys of being like my start of getting all these various things, that's led to anything and everything I've done since then. And now in the last couple of years, I've been very fortunate to work on all sorts of properties that have just been fun, and never thought in a million years I get a chance to do some of this stuff. And I'm trying to take some of that and go back a little bit and utilize what I've learned, utilize like stuff that's come from the industry that I've learned doing all this stuff, to go back into doing the self-publishing thing and try to get our Scarlet Huntress property out there more and more. So like, I can tick off those couple of boxes when I'm filling out Comic-Con applications of like, yeah, I'm a penciler, I'm a colorist, and I'm a, publisher, creator, whatever you want to check that one off. And, all these things have just basically all kind of like meshed together, and like, um, I basically can't do one without the other is what it comes down to.
That's really cool. So I'm hearing like a lot of stuff here that makes a lot of sense to me as far as like breaking into the industry. Is working on like an anthology project is a great way to work to have a lot of people see your work,
Yes.
and other creators that are working also on that anthology project, and then all the people that support that project will see that your stuff as well. The way that I found out about you, and we've worked together a few times now. You've done some coloring for a work for hire book that I was on, and then you've done a cover for my series Resilient as a penciler and a colorist. And the way I found out about you, and it was through a piece that you did at the San Diego Comic Con that was in the giveaway book that they have there. And it was like this incredible like Thor battling Hulk piece that you did, and it was like cool. And I didn't even go talk to you at San Diego Comic Con. I saw this and I was like, this is awesome, and I just like it stayed in my mind. And then I like, who is this guy? And I looked you up and I'm like, oh, he's doing some and so actually the first thing I saw was like your pencils and your colors, but then we ended up working together on some colors first, and then yeah, and so it's just kind of keeping yourself open and trying to grow your name out there, and have people be aware that you're out there doing this stuff. As a writer, I've done work as like an editor. Other writers will do work as like they'll teach themselves how to do some lettering and letter other people's projects. And then that's how Ed Brisson kind of started with working in comics, and then now he's like writing like Wolverine and Ghost Rider and stuff. So just kind of being flexible and being willing to wear different hats and always be professional and kind of follow through on your projects, I think is really important to breaking into comic books.
Oh yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's being professional is the biggest thing. Like hitting the deadlines. Basically making everybody happy. That's the one thing. Like, I guess I could go back to being a kid, and my parents like making me focus on do your homework first before you go out and play, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And all that's kind of rolled into it is like I sit here, and I was actually right before we started doing this was like making my list of all the stuff I need to tackle today to like keep up with deadlines and all that. It's I want to make sure that anything I've signed on to do, I do it well, and I do it that I meet the deadline, and hopefully in the end make whoever that client is, or whoever is going to pick up that book or pick up that piece of art, whatever it is. So hopefully they're happy in some way, shape, or form, as well as trying to as far as like that art person thing goes, is like making myself happy that I accomplished that. And all that stuff, again, it kind of rolls together. You got to have all these things connected in order to actually get and do anything in this industry, it seems like.
So speaking of making people happy, you did a cover for Resilient issue 2, which is on Kickstarter right now. There's a link in the description of this video. And the publisher was like so blown away by it that they selected your cover to be a metal cover, which is really cool. It's like the highest tier of the comic books, like the brushed aluminum metal cover that's shiny and sparkly and awesome. And so I want to thank you for knocking that one out and really slaying it on that piece. So thank you for that. And then also you have a Kickstarter coming up the first week of July for the newest installment of Scarlet Huntress. I'm wondering if you can tell us what's happening in this new issue.
So this is going to be the like culmination, the wrapping up the thing that we've been working on for almost 20 years. We came up with the character in 2003. It was first published in 2004. We're now tying up that story arc finally. So we're gonna get to the bottom of Scarlet's been this whole time. It's been a revenge search for who killed her mother, and we're gonna wrap that storyline up. Gonna give a little tease where we want to head next. Do volume 2 eventually. this is only our 5th issue, but it's taken that long to work on in between all the other stuff that I do. So it's like it's only every few years that I get to do an issue of this. But we're gonna make this a lot of fun. 48 pages. I drove my wife nuts because she's the one that writes it, but I actually came up with an idea that I plotted out in my sketchbook over a span of probably a couple months, just sitting here every once in a while in between work. I'd be like, "Ooh, we need to put this in the story. Ooh, we need to put that in the story." And so I wanted to make sure we wrapped up everything, hit all of the, little, things that we teased early on of like what's going to happen in the story. Make sure we got all that stuff wrapped up, and then also throw in a ton of Easter eggs of all my favorite stuff that I love, pop culture related comics, all this kind of stuff. That's like, this needs to be in here because I want to have a lot of fun drawing it, and I want people to pick up and have fun with everything they see in here.
Yeah, I remember you did an issue where Scarlet Huntress goes to Comic-Con, and there was lots of Easter eggs in there too. If you're looking at the characters in the background, so it's like, oh, look at that person is cosplaying as that, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot more of that. I'd say like my biggest inspiration, like coming to this last issue of this story arc, was what J. Scott Campbell did with Danger Girl, and everything he mixed in there. It was a mix of G.I. Joe, Indiana Jones, James Bond. You name it. I think he crammed that in those books, and it's like I want to play that up a little bit as much as I can, and just have some fun with it, and hope everybody enjoys where we take the story, and hopefully go on to the next story arc that we've got kind of cooking in our heads right now.
Nice. So I've included a link to scarlethuntress.com in the description of this video, and that link will take you to the Kickstarter when the Kickstarter is live. So guys, make sure you back this project as well, and check out Resilient issue 2. And Sean Forney, I want to thank you for being on Inside Comics, man.
George, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to get to chat with you and catch up, and I really appreciate it.
Awesome. See you next time. Peace.